I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners Ways and Means for June 22nd, 2021 at 4 something. Have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Brown,
Here, Laketon Township.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Here, City of Muskegon.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here, Mr.
Commissioner Laring,
Here, Muskegon County Hall of Justice.
Commissioner Nash,
Here, City of Muskegon.
Commissioner Pego,
Here, Muskegon County Hall of Justice.
Chairman Skolnick,
Here, Hall of Justice.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Here, Muskegon County Hall of Justice.
Commissioner Sear.
Here, Muskegon, Michigan. Item number 3, approval of the minutes on the of June 8th, 2021.
So moved.
Second,
A motion and support. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring, Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Pego,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Sear.
Yes. Next item, public comment on an agenda item. Comment, please keep your comments to 2 minutes and on an agenda item only. Out there, is anybody out there? Okay, so where do you go from here?
Karen Palmer.
Karen Palmer, are you up?
I am. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. This is Karen Palmer. I live in Cedar Creek Township. I'm just going to be honest. Based on the behavior of our county clerk and some members of the Board of Commissioners, I think we have reason to believe that there was some fraudulent activity in the November 2020 elections here. Unless we have a forensic audit completed in this county with complete transparency by the clerk's office, I see no reason to offer any additional funding from the public for a kiosk, nor especially $25,000 to outsource the election service that office is responsible for. By the way, I know for a fact that Zuckerberg's CTI money was used here in my in the county, in my own township. My township clerk gave me the report of how that money was used and a copy of the contract information upon my request. And I'd like to thank Stephanie Kuziak here publicly for making that easy enough. But our county clerk's office has not been that easy to work with. And until such time as she does make that easy, I'm, as a member of the public, I'm not interested in my taxpayer dollars going to outsource those services. Thank you for listening.
Karen, is there any other public comment? Do you see anybody?
No, I don't.
All right, seeing none. Number 5, item 5 is communication budget reports.
Nothing to report on it, just for information.
Okay, all right, we'll just put that on file then. Items for consideration, item WM21/06-60 to approve payment of the accounts payable of $15,815,297.75, covering the period of May 21st, 2021 through June 10th, 2021 for checks as presented by the county clerk.
Support.
Have a motion and support. Questions, comments, or concerns about this item? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Sear.
Yes. That item passes. The next item is WM21/06-61 to approve the resolution pledging the county's full faith and credit for the Montague Drainage District Bond Series 2021 General Obligation Limited Tax for an amount not to exceed $1.8 million.
So move.
Second,
Have a motion and support. Is there any questions, comments, or
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
yes, Commissioner Laring, go ahead.
So this drain district, I don't have a lot of feedback from constituents. Brenda, how did residents in this area take to this assessment?
Actually, this has been one of my smoother sailing projects, probably because the city of Montague petitioned our office back in 2016. Buttermilk Creek runs through the city of Montague, and it's really flashy, which means the stormwater hits the system fast. It brings a lot of sediment. There's a lot of clay soils. And I don't know if any of you saw the coverage of downtown Montague under a couple feet of water, but that is directly associated with Buttermilk Creek and its flashiness. So the project is typical. We'll stabilize banks, we'll detain the water upstream, we'll have grass waterways. We're doing a series of things to keep the water from blasting into Montague. Average assessment for people with homes in Montague the total is $1,357. This is 20-year bonds, so they'll be paying about $70 a year for this. Larger property owners in Montague Township have bigger bills because, of course, we assess based on land area. But it has been well received. I usually get some people not happy about paying the assessment, but most concede that this is necessary. Does that answer your question?
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not asking for the property owners or the titles of the property, but I am wondering the larger property owners, what is the use of that land?
Most of it's agricultural. And the bigger property owners, I don't want to speak for. However, we did purchase land for the buffers, the grass waterways, which will help offset some of their costs. And also solar panels are going into some of these properties that will allow them to go over our easement. So I think the landowners were pretty smart about how they handled this.
Okay,
Am I answering your question?
ma'am, thank you.
Absolutely.
Chairman's here. I have a question.
Commissioner Hughes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to know, what does this bring the bonding amount for the drain office to? You know that?
Oh, I don't know that total. Let's see.
I can find out how much number.
Thank you. I just wondered how much it has been pledged, of our credit to the, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Pego, go ahead.
Just to clarify with Drain Commissioner Ms. Moore, so this average assessment of $1,357, that's the total or the annually? Just the-
Total. Annual will be around $70. Since we haven't hit the bond market, I don't know interest, but
This is total for this one specific job, or is this including maintenance here on out?
no, it doesn't include maintenance, but we typically have contingency, and my theory is do a good job the first time around, you won't have a lot of maintenance. So I can't speak to that. We don't know what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years.
Do you have a forecast of estimate of maintenance cost?
Well, we can only spend $5,000 per mile per year under law. So the forecast, that'd be the top. I can only pre-assess $1,500 per mile per year. So there's some built-in measures in the drain code to make sure we're not building a war chest, if you will.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? We have a roll call on this item, please.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
Pass.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer.
Yes. That item passes. Move on to WM 21/062 to approve the bond ordinance and the notice of a sale resolution for the Channel Crossing project, and authorize and clerk to sign the same.
So moved.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this item? None. I'd like to have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes. That item passes. The next item is WM 21/06-63 to approve the letter to the clerk of the Board of County Road Commissioners of Muskegon County expressing the county's approval of abandoning the unpaved northernmost portion of Hilton Park Road in Eggleston Township. The authorize the board chair to sign the same.
So moved.
Support.
A motion and support. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Chair Skolnick.
what is, is the road commission going to do this?
The
Did you?
DNR's already done it.
They've done it.
Yesterday.
That's, I just, so we're not-
You put out a notice yesterday.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes. That item passes. The next item is WM 21/06-64 to amend fiscal year 2021 DTE test and 1010-0175 expenditure budget, increasing it by $250,000 from $2,887,065 to $3,149,565 to cover current and anticipated projects through the end of the fiscal year.
So moved.
Support.
Second. I'll be right.
Motion and support. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Chair Skolnick.
I would just like to say that this is a fantastic thing for Muskegon County. I wish Mike was here to talk about it a little bit more, but this is a huge benefit to the citizens in this county.
Any other questions at all?
I'd like to comment on that too. This is a good sign. It seems as though we run this program pretty well, and we typically get excess funding from other areas or fundings that have not been dispersed. And Mike and his team are doing a great job making sure that this program is being used properly in Muskegon County, and commend them all.
Commissioner Nash, anybody else? All right, may I have a roll call vote on this item, please?
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes. That item passes. The next item is WM 21/06-65 to approve the county clerk's office to purchase a contactless self-check-in kiosk from Jury Systems Incorporated in the amount of $5,725.34 to be paid from the juror show cause assigned fund balance in the general fund.
So moved.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we have motion support. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
Yes, I do.
Commissioner Pego, go ahead.
Is Clerk Waters on the line?
That's none of ours. Clerk Waters, are you on? Or Linda?
Nobody?
I am on, Mark, but I'm on just as a listener today.
I'm sorry, I am online, just having trouble with the technical part here, but we're on.
I understand. Can you hear me, Clerk?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I just have a question, regarding this kiosk. Is this, because of, social distancing issues, because of the COVID, or what is your reasoning for needing or wanting, requesting this?
Well, first of all, my jury clerk is a high-risk individual who wears the oxygen in her nose and carries the little pack and everything. And we felt that with having not had any juries for quite a while, that we should invest in this to protect her. We were one of the first offices to have the plexiglass around to protect her back in March of last year. And I think the other reason is it's going to give our jurors, will now be starting back with juries, and we haven't had them for a long time. And we already had approval for the first one. We are sometimes having to have jurors seated in two locations, the 6th floor on the jury assembly room and the 4th floor on the Board of Commissioners room, when we have two courts running or two juries going and have to have them sorted. And this money, the courts back in 1998 established a juror show cause, where people who didn't show up for jury duty were fined a $50 fee for for not showing up, or they had to spend 10 hours in the community service, so that if they didn't have any money, they weren't penalized. And that fund had accumulated because from time to time, there's lots of people that don't show up. And that's why it says that the juror show cause isn't coming from taxpayers' dollars at all. It'll be coming from the fund that sits there from the show cause.
And can I continue?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so how many jurors per hour are you checking in?
Well, we never know. It's all left up to the judges. And if they have an FC case, which is a high felony case, we could have 65 people being checked in. But not only would they be able with this unit to check themselves in, but then to print their work slip, that a lot of them require a work slip to take back to their employer. And this would then send to our jury clerk in her office, because this would be in the hallway outside on the 6th floor, and the same thing on the 4th floor. It then sends her the final attendance so she can get the voir dire list ready to go into the judge for the jurors walking into the courtroom, so they know who's there and who didn't come and things like that.
So on average, right now, you've been here for a few years. How many on average do you have per hour that typically check in for jurors?
Again, it does depend on the judges. Sometimes we have no shows. Sometimes they come in. We never know how many are going to show up. We had 66 scheduled for jury today, and it got canceled because the person pled last night before 5 o'clock. So we just have to always be prepared for whatever action the judge in that particular case wants to proceed with.
So your typical manner of checking in right now is what?
Our typical manner has always been that they would come in and that they would stand in line and wait to be checked in with our jury clerk, and then from there would wait so she could print their work slip for them to receive, to be able to take back to their employer for whatever reason, because several employers do reimburse the employees for doing jury duty.
And how long per jurist does that process take to check in?
I have no, Commissioner, I have no idea. We
Okay,
haven't timed it. We're just trying to move them through, get them in, get
Okay.
them seated, get everything ready to go into the courtroom.
these are valid questions that need answered. You only have one juror clerk right now, apparently, that performs these duties.
That's all we've ever had.
Okay, well, her health unfortunately is not the taxpayer's responsibility. Secondly, our responsibility as commissioners is to manage the taxpayers' funds. You've been doing it all along without this extra kiosk, and I'm asking questions that you can't answer right now. I'm going to make a motion that we postpone this until you can provide those answers more specifically in details. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Sorry, I just want to make sure. I thought there was a motion already pending. Is there not?
There isn't.
Yes.
For this item.
For the
Yes.
Make a motion to postpone. We have specific details of questions that I asked.
So typically you would make that motion to postpone to a definitive date if we're going to. do
Okay.
that. So, because otherwise,
Okay, that's fine. So what is our next,
Just
Full
say
board
30
next
days.
Tuesday. Is that what you want to do in full board, or-
30 days typically is how we do it to the
Oh, I
next
got
Ways and Means Committee, I think. So I'll make that motion for the next Ways and Means to give her time to research and clarify those questions. Thank you.
Okay, so
Mr. Chair,
yes, Commissioner Nash.
may we comment on this?
it's not debatable, right? But it has to be supported. So
He did,
It was
Mr. Larry,
supported.
Commissioner Larry.
supported, not debatable.
So do you vote?
You vote.
All right, roll call, please.
On the motion to table, Commissioner Hughes,
No.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Commissioner Pego,
Yes,
Chairman Skolnick,
No, just a minute, we're voting to
Okay,
table.
well,
No,
we'll talk about it later.
Commissioner Wilkins,
no,
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
No.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
4 yes, 5 no.
Okay, so that motion did not pass, so we're back to the first motion.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I have a.
Yes, go
question.
ahead, Commissioner. Herring.
Nancy, in your statement, you said that we always have to be prepared, and I see that this item is non-budgeted. I don't know why it wasn't in your budget when you had the same clerk for years. And my concern is that you're not prepared. And if you were prepared, you would have budgeted this item in your annual budget. So I'm a no vote on this.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Nash, go ahead.
I'm in support of this because number one, it's not coming from taxpayer funds. It's coming from fees that are paid by folks that are no-shows. Second of all, whether it has to do with the clerk's health or not, it really doesn't. Because if you look at how this kiosk works, it helps to simplify the process of jurors being able to be checked in and also processing their assignments and work slips that they need to return to their employers. And anything that you can do technology-wise to simplify any of these processes, I think are a win-win for helping provide better services for people in this community. And that's why I'm in support of this. I think it's a no-brainer.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
So
Commissioner Pagel?
can I make a friendly amendment to the motion then to eliminate the real person body that is doing the job, that performed the job that we're replacing the kiosk with? Can you get a second?
You have to get a second from whoever seconded the motion.
Who seconded the motion?
Commissioner Wilkins.
Commissioner Wilkins? Would you like to second my motion of a friendly amendment to remove the employee that's doing this job that the kiosk is taking the place of?
no.
No? Okay. So Clerk Waters, if you no longer, if the clerk isn't needed anymore, what are you going to do with her if the kiosk is doing her job?
I'm not sure because that's a decision that the courts will make because all of the jury process is under the court system, which is a separate branch of government. And there's much more work that employee is doing because every week we are having to send out notices to people who are being picked, and we have to share information with the prosecutor's office, with the public defender's office. Jury is not just showing up that day for jury. There's lots of work that has to be done. And for those that show up, there's just many, many more functions than what people would realize in the whole jury process. So that employee would be kept, and under no circumstances would the court ever agree that that employee would not be there.
So I have another question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
If the kiosk is this check-in with this slip that they're mailed, that's how they're checking in, how is their ID going to be checked to make sure it's the real person that's actually the juror?
So they have an identification number. That the identification number tracks them through for any process, whether it's in district court, circuit court, because we also pull jurors for district court as well. And I can assure you that the process is one in which we've never had any fraud, we've never had any problem, and I don't anticipate any.
So is a real person verifying identification to make sure it's the correct person that has the slip of paper? I could come in for anybody if I just have a piece of paper and a real body person is not checking photo identification.
They do bring their driver's license with them to be checked at the time they're coming in.
So someone is manually verifying a photo identification to their paper slip that they receive in the mail.
Yes.
So they're going through the process of somebody checking their ID, checking them in that way, and also duplicating that through the kiosk of an electronic machine that you're asking for funding for.
So let me tell you, many counties are using this kiosk, not just Muskegon County, Jackson County, Ottawa County, Bay County, lots of them are using this. And it's just a movement as we go forward. It was first purchased because we were having social distancing, but then it was kept to be keeping it as we go forward because of all the responsibilities that we have on the day of the jury when they're checking themselves in.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hovey, right, please.
Yes, we're talking about just under $6,000. It's like nothing. And it's not taxpayer money, and it makes the whole system more efficient. So there's no waiting in line. They get a slip for their employer. I don't know why we're making such a big issue of this.
Well, I believe that, I think this social distancing thing, to be honest with you, is going to go away relatively soon, and that would kind of negate the necessity of having an extra unit. Plus the fact that are these kiosks manned by an individual? County Clerk Waters, do you know?
No, they're in the hallway outside on the 6th floor of the Circuit Court Records Office, and I will have a staff person that's there helping with any instructions or anything like that. Not the jury clerk, but an additional person just for that check-in time.
Okay, so there is somebody at the kiosk, so you have.
We've never used it yet. There will be that.
So are you going to be excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
So you're going to be taking another employee from the county away from their duties to man the kiosk?
I think that we have always had someone from the Circuit Court Records Office assist there because we have lots of functions on election day. On jury day. So I've always used someone for a short period of time, and it's never interfered with their duties in Circuit Court records.
What other purpose does that juror show cause money go for?
It goes for buying them water. It goes for, in the past, providing them with coffee and with tea and hot chocolate. It goes for different things like that the judges wish to have us use that money for. We always have to have approval, and this was approved by the Chief Judge Hicks for this unit. Nothing is ever spent out of there without authorization from the Chief Judge.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner Waring, go ahead.
So have you built up a sufficient fund to pay for these kiosks in this fund set aside?
There is more than sufficient fund as provided by the information that our accounting department has given me.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Nash, go ahead.
can we go back to the motion at hand?
I have questions.
I think if we take a look at that, we already had a kiosk previously, so this has never been a real issue. It looks like that kiosk is going to be retired, and we'll have to have a replacement for that anyway. And if you look at the original motion, We still haven't went back to that yet. I don't know why. There is an approval by the chief judge. And I don't think that he gives his approval lightly to revenue and items of these things without making sure that these are needed things for the courts. So I think we're kind of beating a dead horse here, something that's really needed for the community and to simplify the process.
Mr. Chair. Oh, sorry.
Commissioner Nash, did you, where did you get the information that we're gonna retire this unit that we have? So
I was looking at the original motion and I believe that it said that that unit was reaching its, can we go back to that original motion? I don't see it up here.
It's on the
It
screen.
doesn't- Pardon me?
Yes, for it to be
It's
shown.
on the screen now.
Okay.
I'm seeing the 25,000.
That's the elections. We're
Right.
on the
The
jury.
next
We
one.
haven't voted yet
That-
on the jury.
We're waiting on the other one.
Yeah, we're still on the kiosk.
This is the kiosk one.
Yeah, I don't see where
Number
that's gonna
65.
be retired anytime soon. I missed.
No, Commissioner Nash, the purpose for the second one was in order to have one on the fourth floor where we do use that facility quite frequently for for jurors, and one on the sixth floor.
Oh, okay, so we're right.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, Commissioner Fagel.
So, Clerk Waters, so what is the lifespan of these? Who's gonna maintain them for the maintenance? Is that
Well,
our,
again, our IT department has always been involved on anything that we purchase. And Mark Hansen, who has been here for a long time, is the one that worked through all of this, knows all of the requirements necessary. And in fact, they always have someone available on the morning of a jury in case there's any problems or issues at all. So IT department is well versed and well ahead and gave approval for this kiosk.
and what is your perspective of when you'll have to get this replaced? Or the other one you already
I
have?
have no idea. I think that it'll be a long time down the road because we don't have juries every day.
Mr. Chair, I have another question.
Yes, Commissioner Larry.
Yes, Clerk Waters, you expressed that quite frequently the fourth floor is used for this jury assembly and check-in. Pre-COVID, how many times was that used per month on an average?
At least two, because we had Judge Marietti, whose courtroom was right next to the fourth floor. So a lot of times we would schedule them there so they could go from the boardroom right into Judge Marietti's courtroom or Judge Hoekstra's courtroom on the fourth floor. And then that we have two judges up on the sixth floor where it was convenient for them to be in the jury assembly room, and they'd go right across the hall into Judge Smedley's courtroom or down the hall to Judge Hicks's courtroom.
Okay,
Otherwise, if they were on the sixth floor and the jury was being assembled and taken to Judge Marietti's courtroom, they had to either take the elevator down or they could walk down. So occasionally from time to time, and I have no idea on how many, we've never had to count any of this information that you're asking for, because our job is always to be sure that we have enough jurors for them to be able to have a jury trial.
okay, so you stated quite frequently, and then you said twice a month. I wouldn't,
Well, when you pressured me for giving you, it dawned on me that we do use it from time to time because of Judge Marietti's courtroom right next to the boardroom.
so you stated twice a month. That doesn't equal quite frequently to me.
Well, I'm sorry and I apologize.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Fagel.
Clerk Waters, another question I have. So the device itself is a laptop in a box, basically a tower or whatever, but what about software? How often and frequently would that have to be updated and maintained?
That's all included in that package, software, and in fact, it's also included on a stand that's on lockdown rollers, so that at the end of the check-in, because they're usually done checking in an hour before they have to be in the courtroom, the judge tells us when they want them in the courtroom, and we'll be able to move those back up to the sixth floor into the jury room from the fourth floor. And I think that IT has done an excellent job checking on everything and thinking about everything with software and everything that needs to be taken into this request.
So you didn't answer my question about the software. You're not sure then?
That includes the software. All of this came with software and everything.
I understand. I'm just saying, typically devices need software updates or replacements. Do you have answers on that or you're unsure?
Well, we've not had to do many upgrades at all in the 12 years I've been clerk of the court.
Okay. And so what you just said is typically after this kiosk is used already on whatever floor that it's on, then the jurors are processed and actually waiting for an hour or so. So there's an hour of time left over.
I have no idea. It depends on the day. It depends on what's going on. I can't answer those questions. We haven't had a jury in over a year and a half. And, to ask me these types of questions now, when we weren't even looking at these types of issues until all of this happened and everything, I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't answer a lot of your questions for you, but I feel confident that Judge Hicks, as the chief judge, felt very confident with the need for this because he's one that sees the activity of the jury office and getting jurors into these courtrooms.
Okay, thank you. So my last question, I think, is how long have you had the current kiosk that is being currently used then?
Well, interestingly enough, we don't have it at all. It's just been shipped because that was paid, and with everything on supply sources, we were on a wait list, and we've just gotten a tracking number and it's just coming in. So we'll be getting it installed and using it.
So you have not had any experience using it at all yet?
No, but we did visit other offices that are using it and felt very confident with their comments and how much they liked it.
So I guess I do have one more question then. So currently, pre-COVID, when you do check in jurors, has there been a problem with them not being checked in sufficient time and manner? Has it held up the cases from going on at the time that they're called?
No, I think the only problem is keeping the confidentiality, which we're absolutely required to do, is keep, in the old days, they were able to maybe call the names by roll call or things like that. Now everything has to be confidential for jurors, and we have to follow all of those laws. So, we think this is a tool that's an inexpensive tool that gives us an opportunity to be able to upgrade the services for the jurors who are coming in to serve their duty.
So was confidentiality not required, and was that an issue before?
This was years ago, before I even became the county clerk.
You've been the clerk for 12 years? Is that what you just said? You say you need this machine now because of...
I feel like I'm being intent, I don't know what your issues are. I've tried to explain as best I can on something that should have been no issue for the needs of the courts and aren't even being paid for out of taxpayers' money.
Just said we have a confidentiality issue, so I'm wondering if we have a...
I said in the past they had a confidentiality issue years ago, and they would be lined up out in the hallway waiting to get in to be able to check in. This is going to be a faster, more secure way to get them in and get them what their needs are.
Mr. Chair, call the question, please.
Yes. Yes, Commissioner Hovey, right.
You have to take a vote.
No, we have to have a second.
I'll second it.
Support.
All right, that means we go to vote.
No, we voted
Vote on
on
it.
it.
You have to have a two-thirds.
That's correct. Vote on that first.
All right, can I have a roll call vote on that, please?
I'm calling the question on 65. Commissioner Laring,
No,
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
No.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
You already did Brown.
Did he?
7 yes, 2 no.
So We move on to vote on the
Number
original
65.
Item 65, the original motion.
Commissioner Wilkins. On the original motion.
What, will you repeat the original motion?
Yes.
The kiosk.
Yeah. So
For
let's purchase the
Commissioner.
kiosk.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
no,
Commissioner Harvey Wright,
yes,
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
No,
Commissioner Nash,
yes,
Commissioner Pega,
No,
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer.
No.
5 yes, 2 no,
That item
or
passes.
4 no, I apologize.
Oh, thank you. That's 5 and 4, 9. Okay, good. That item passes. The next item is WM 2106-66 to authorize the county clerk to spend up to $25,000 using a pre-qualified vendor list for professional services to provide the mandated function required to conduct the August 3rd and the November 2nd elections for Muskegon County and to amend the election budget 1010-0191 accordingly.
So moved.
so moved.
second,
We have a motion and support. Questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, Larry, please.
So I am uncomfortable with subcontracting this out. I realize you have an employee retiring, but we should be able to staff that position. And I don't see the need that we would subcontract this out to a private vendor. We have enough problem with election integrity in this county and in the state that we don't need a private vendor trying to orchestrate the elections in this county.
Questions, concerns?
yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Fagan, go
Um,
ahead.
Clerk Waters, is the list of mandated functions that this vendor is specifically going to be performing?
So this person, and I do say, and I want to call to your attention, it says up to 25,000, because I have no idea how much the November election is going to cost for programming. The city of Muskegon Heights has until the late of July to turn in their list of people that are running for city council. The townships and cities have until August 10th in order to determine whether they want to have anything on the ballots for the November election. So there's so many things that are unknown. That's why I said up to 25,000. It might not even get to that. The individual would be programming and would also be doing the voicing, because we have to provide the voices for the equipment that listeners are wanting to hear, where they can't see, they can hear it and read it. There are so many functions that this individual would be doing. And let me call to your attention that, yes, I do have a vacancy, and the person retired after 27 years with the county. And that money, that if that person were still here working for the month of July, August, September, October, and November, more than pays for the purpose of this being programmed, first of all. Secondly, we also will be getting additional revenue for mailing out to these counties or to these municipalities. The programming cost will be reimbursed from that standpoint, or some of it will be reimbursed. So again, the unfortunate thing is that the person decided to retire. I am not in a position to be able to recruit anybody, train them, get them ready for a major election, with so much going on with apportionment and all the other duties that I'm handling right now. That's why I chose to wait, get through this in this manner. So the city of Muskegon, who has city commissioners on the ballot in the August election and in the November election, and all the things for these elections in this county, to see that they all felt comfortable as to how we were proceeding.
Clerk Waters, when did you find out Jeannie Pazette was going to retire?
I don't remember. I think she may have given me notification in May, and she is the one that did my programming up until that time. But even then, with the August ballot, we found some errors and things. And in fact, Ann Mish said, thanks everyone for working with us to fix this mistake. The county did a great job of resolving it. We discovered it on Tuesday. They reprogrammed overnight, had new ballots printed, and were driving across the state to pick them up for us. And that was from Anne Marie Mish. We never know what's going to happen. We hope that everything's going to be done properly. And the clerks, when they test the equipment, they're the ones that may locate an issue or this or that. We try to do the best we can. This is not an easy job, and I can tell you that I've lost 2 election people. One left us several years ago to go to the city of Muskegon for more money than what we were paying. This is a job that's going to require a lot of money in order to bring somebody in that has the ability and the capability to be a full-time elections person. Elections is not just a one-time, one day, one election type of process.
Well, knowing that, I guess, so you found out in May, this May, that Jeannie was going to retire when?
That her last day is the last of this month.
Oh, this month, so she isn't actually gone yet, okay.
Yeah.
Have you tried at all to hire a replacement for her, but I mean, to sit down with her and train for that job?
I have not had the ability because I've been trying to fill vacancies upstairs in Circuit Court Records, where we've got vacancies up there.
Okay, so you don't have anybody in the office there that has this capability or skill then? So
You know, I brought a person back on June of last year, had asked the clerk to train her with elections. It is a complicated job. And it's one that most of the staff doesn't want to do. You have to find that special person that loves to do elections and understands all the laws, all the procedures that are required at the state level, at the federal level. We just don't get to do a ballot. And in fact, it's a big, long time consuming process. And I chose not to fill the vacancy now because I felt that the person wouldn't be available. I wanted to get through everything and then post it in January. And I was assured by the accounting department that the savings of the salary for the vacancy that I have would be more than enough to be able to allow me then to hire and start bringing somebody in, because we won't have any elections next year until maybe May or something. And I'd have a little breathing time to catch up with all these things that are going on.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
If I may,
Chair Skolnick.
having owned, I realize this is government, but having owned businesses with some jobs that were just complicated and isn't something you can just train somebody to do in a month even or two. I understand exactly what she's talking about. I mean, we can't have mistakes in this. And to think she can hire somebody now and train them in this stuff where they don't know anything about it. There's 83 counties in the state. So that means there's 83 election clerks. There aren't like a lot of people running around with these kinds of skills. This thing makes perfect sense. She's thought about the money. She has a plan to try to hire somebody and train them. And if anybody's paid attention to the news lately, it isn't that easy to hire people anymore. It isn't like there's people standing in line waiting for you to post a job opening. So this makes sense. She's thought about it. And we cannot mess up the election.
Commissioner Seeger, I have a question too.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes, go ahead.
Clerk Waters, I have a question for you. Will this alleviate some of the IT support that you normally use, or will this new company take that over?
No, it's not a new company coming in. It'd just be coming in to help us with the final August 3rd election, and then programming in that for November. IT on election night, we're always concerned about how modems are going to work. They'll always continue to have their role to play with us that they already have, but they don't do any involvement in programming or anything like that.
Okay, so they're going to be working on the ballots and things like that, correct?
Yes, on the election ballots.
The election, and will the communities that have elections in August and November, will they pay the costs back to you?
So we do bill them for programming, and we expect to recoup this cost with the savings of not filling the vacancy, as well as the money that we would be billing the municipalities and what their costs would be. We don't have any idea at this point how many ballots they're going to be needing and things like that. That's the information that the city and township clerks give to us. There's a component in here that we work very closely with the city and township clerks for their elections. So with that being said, we try to do the best we can. And I do feel that this money will be more than paid for, and there will be no additional cost, and we'll get through this as we head into 2022.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Lillian, go ahead.
So Clerk Waters, you made a statement that that person is not available till January. This gives me the impression that you've already tried to solicit an employee for this position, but they're not available till January. And you don't want to put this out for a new employee yet. So it gives me the impression that you're trying to cherry pick one individual person for this position that should be open to the public. And I would suggest that the longer this position is posted and we have an opening for it, the better chances. You can't just post this job and take one applicant in January that you've already pre-selected.
So Mr. Laring, I think you misunderstood me. I said that with everything going on, because we have apportionment, that once we get that data, we have 60 days to get that done. I have a lot of other things that we're doing. And because I felt this was the easiest way to get through the August and November election and had the money there, I said that in January, I would then be posting it. I can assure you, I have no candidate. I wouldn't even know where to start looking. I can tell you that the elections person in Ottawa County just left his job to take a different, better, higher paying job. And I always look to Ottawa County as to being the ones with deep pockets in that. So elections is very complicated, and I have nobody at this point. I haven't looked for anybody because there's too many other responsibilities that are required to keep moving the August and November elections forward.
Well, Clerk Waters, so I wrote it down, and your exact comment was that person is not available. So you may have.
Well, I apologize.
I didn't.
I have not. I can assure you that I have not looked for anybody. I have not tried to recruit anybody, and I do not intend to do that until in January.
So how much work does it take you to post an open position to fill a vacancy? I mean, I can't imagine that creating that posting.
Well, first of all, it's going to be writing a job description, and I've asked several county clerks to share with me their job descriptions, because in there, they're requiring that they need to have the background and understanding of federal election laws, state election laws, the equipment, how to work it, how to operate it, one thing and another. And so I am going to be soliciting after the November election from lots of county clerks, their recruiting tools that they've used. And I can tell you, I'm not the only one with vacancies right now.
I don't understand why you would wait till after November to solicit this information. You said that you've already talked to a couple and they've talked to you a little bit about it. I think this posting needs to be available sooner rather than later. And this motion is a bit premature that you're already wanting to sub it out and wait till January after the elections. This election would be great OJT to start somebody in this process, and we're not even soliciting for an employee to fill this position.
I appreciate your comments, and I will start to send some letters out to clerks. All the clerks are busy. We're just up to our necks with work on the elections, with everything. And so the thing is, I want to be aware of what they need when I'm asking them to send me this and this and this, but I have so noted your comments and I appreciate them.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, Commissioner Fay.
Clerk Waters, you mentioned a few moments ago before Mr. Laring's questions about reprogramming. Can you be specific what what is being reprogrammed? So I have a clear understanding, please.
Well, what had to be reprogrammed was when the mistake was made in the city of Muskegon's ballots.
What mistake was it? Can you refresh my knowledge of that? I'm not sure.
I'm beginning to think I can't remember either. I put in here that we have, they had found that the city of Muskegon, those are nonpartisan races. And in nonpartisan races, they don't show Democrat and Republican. And somehow, when this was programmed by the previous person that worked here, she had put on there Republican and Democrat. They are nonpartisan in city elections. And so that had to be redone to remove, all we had to do was just remove the Republican Democrat. When I talked to the clerk in the city, I said, how would you like to proceed? She said, I do not want the word Republican or Democrat on there since this is a nonpartisan election. So that was the issue.
So that was the issue that's already been resurrected.
Taken care of. Yeah.
Okay, so that has already, the reprogramming has already been done? Just a few minutes ago, you said you needed this new person for reprogramming, but you just said reprogramming has already been done.
But not for the November election. We can't even start on the November election, like I said, until after the 10th of August, when all these cities and townships, a calendar exists that gives us deadlines for lots of things. The city of Muskegon Heights, their charter says that they can't even file their applications for candidates running on their ballot until late July. We have no idea what's even going on for November in a lot of these elections and things. We're trying to get through the August election, and until the until the election is done on August 3rd, and we have the Board of Canvassers come in and certify those results, then we can begin to really move forward on the November election.
So, because I didn't get a clear answer yet, and I'm trying to understand what exactly you need help with. These are functions that you're.
Well, I think that I made it clear what I need help with my motion that I brought to the board.
I understand. I'm asking, you cannot perform these duties yourself. That's what I'm asking.
No, I cannot perform these duties, and in most cases, the county clerks don't do their own programming and things like that. I do a lot of things in elections, but I don't do the programming. And I would have to be sent away to a school probably for a week to learn the techniques of doing the program. It is a very complicated process.
Okay. So
and I've never wanted to do any programming.
Mr. Chair,
as the county clerk, is it your duty as a county clerk to provide these services and to know this job under statute?
I can assure you that I am knowledgeable about what is needed for my job.
And we have
Mr. Chair,
67 precincts in Muskegon County, I believe. And each municipality clerk do most of the functions of their own municipality elections. Correct?
The county clerk is the statutory individual who is responsible for programming and getting ballots printed for all municipalities.
So
Whether
that-
it's Muskegon County, whether it's Oceana County, whether it's Kent County, that is the statutory responsibility to see that they're adequately done.
You answered my question that it's your duty, but you are not knowledgeable in that. Thank you.
Clerk Waters, I'm just a little concerned about the motion. I'm not, who are the professional services or the qualified vendor? I don't.
Well, the list from I'm gonna get the list from the Secretary of State's office, because that's who we have to follow with all our directions and processes that we have to do with any election before, during, and after an election.
Okay, so you have not selected a vendor to do this?
No, I've not selected anybody yet.
Okay,
So how does, sorry,
go ahead. Any other questions?
what kind of standard or reference do you base that selection upon?
Well, the selection is going to be based on the fact that they do meet all the terms and conditions of the Bureau of Election, that they have a lot of experience in doing programming, and that they're going to be available. I can tell you that in August, people are going to say, we're busy, we're doing our own election, or that they're saying this, or we're on vacation. I have no idea. This is new. I have never in all my years been faced with this kind of situation.
Might I make a recommendation?
Please
Mr. Chair,
do.
can I speak? I've asked to speak several times.
Yes, Commissioner Nash, go ahead.
First of all, I'm really embarrassed that we're using this partisan language to question our clerk and badger her like she's some criminal. It's ridiculous and it's embarrassing. The clerk has clearly explained exactly what she needed and exactly what she needed it for. She's looking for a vendor from a qualified list that comes from the state that has been approved. She needs this money to assist her with doing that. Never in my life have I seen an election clerk do her own programming or all her other tasks that she does personally. She directs her office and her staff to do those things. We know this, so we should stop just badgering her and let's move forward. I would like to make a motion to call for the question.
Second.
Motion and a second, call for the question. Have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
No,
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
No, yes, no. Sorry.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
no,
Commissioner Seer,
No.
5 yes, 4 no.
Okay, that passes. So we go to the motion. Your roll call on the motion. Oh, sorry.
Right.
I think it takes a two-thirds.
Two-thirds majority, so it fails.
So the last one on the previous motion failed also then on number 65.
That was 7-2.
No, it was not. It was 5-4. She corrected herself.
No, that was,
It was 7-2, because I wrote it.
there was-
And the motion, the underlying
Oh, okay.
motion passed.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So the motion to call the question fails.
So that leaves us.
Leaves you in debate.
Great. I have another question, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Lost my notes here where I was. Oh, so how many people are on this qualified certified vendor list, Miss?
I have no idea.
Okay, is that something that us as a Board of Commissioners are going to be able to review before
I
your?
don't think it's necessary for you to review. I should be allowed to make that decision because I know the qualifications I need.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Laring.
so I actually have a bit of a problem with that. You get to select the vendor from this supposedly long list of qualified vendors from the state. Where does price and value come into that selection to select the most qualified vendor?
Price and value is predicated on what the urgency is of the needs.
So you get to make the selection based on your presumed need, and you get to circumvent the county commissioners in this decision?
Well, I have to move fast, and I brought this motion to ask for this approval and to assure you all that every election I've ever conducted in this county in all of these years has been an excellent election and no problems and no lawsuits on credibility of anything that's being done. And I have to be able to be moving forward in a manner that's necessary to get this job done.
So you just brought up another question. And Mr. Nash, I apologize for this, but now it gets partisan. The Republican Party actually asked, you just basically said that your elections have been excellent. The Republican Party requested that you do a forensic audit, would have been free to the county. The federal government would have came in. You refused that request to prove that your elections have been outstanding, particularly the 2020 election. You did not order that forensic audit. Therefore, that statement that all your elections have been outstanding, to me still leaves question. And the second thing about this, in this debate back and forth, you have expressed that you ran for an office that you're incapable of doing the job for. You are.
Oh, come on.
Commissioner Laring, I don't like you putting words in my mouth. First of all, when you are making these statements about the forensic audit, I replied by saying that every ballot had been scrutinized by the Board of Canvassers, which consists of a Democrat and a Republican, that the county commissioners elect, and that they found nothing. And so I stand by my Board of Canvassers that do everything. And in fact, well, no more. I'm just not even going to comment anymore.
Commissioner Laring.
Mr.
I'm
Chair,
not angry. I'm just saying that I keep saying this over and over.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Harvey Wright.
Yes, I really have a problem with the tone and the
Disrespect.
harassment from two of the commissioners on this board. This is ridiculous. It's a waste of our time, and we need to move on and vote on this.
So I disagree with your statement. Ms.
Absolutely.
Right. That's what we're here for, to have this public debate. And
But you're insulting.
that's my nature.
Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner Pego.
The clerk's office was asked repeatedly in public comment in board meetings about the use of Zuckerberg money in Muskegon County for the November elections. When my constituent reached out and asked for this to be included in the minutes specifically under her name, not only was she denied by the board and the clerk's office, but now all of the public comments are posted in much more limited manner immediately after this request. This response suggests that our county clerk's office may be having something to hide from the public with regards to the security of the November 2020 election, that the Republican Party and 4 commissioners did request a federal forensic audit be suggested and ordered, that she declined. Unless and until that issue gets straightened out, I see no reason to offer additional public funding to this office. We will have to ask for a forensic audit to give the public the answers they deserve. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Call vote on this item, please.
Commissioner Brown,
no,
Commissioner Harvey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
No.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego,
No.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Sears.
No.
5 yes, 4 no.
That item passes. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? None.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring.
So I know we've got an issue coming up under new business. Under old business. I'm gonna pass on this right now.
Okay, unfinished. Any new business? Item number 8.
Sorry, I was still under, are you under unfinished business? Sorry.
Well,
I'm moving on, but go ahead.
I know, I had something, then Commissioner.
under unfinished
Larry
business.
did. Yes, I don't know if it's under unfinished or new, but I don't want to miss the opportunity. I know we have this declaration that Chair Skolnick's going to go over,
Yeah,
but it does not include the mandate of the public mask wearing of when public come into the county courthouse. I just want to know if that's going to be handled under this in addition, because I don't see it in here. That was a separate motion that I believe Commissioner Nash made a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if the courts can do their own separate.
I can help with that.
Okay,
If
thank
there's
you.
Additional questions, I'll turn it over to Patrick, but the motion that we made the last time the meeting, we're in a meeting, talking about no mask in this room. That's on there for the full board to approve. So we passed that, right? Last Thursday.
Yes, correct.
But for the building itself, that falls under the courts, and the courts are actually having a meeting on that tomorrow. To
Okay.
discuss going further with. the
Okay, but
mask.
for the public to come into the county commissioners meeting, what Nash made a motion on, does this cover that? And that's gonna be
Well, this
retracted?
Yeah, this will lift all of our.
That lifts everything the county commissioners did? Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you. I'm all
Okay.
set.
Any more unfinished business?
Yeah,
Anybody?
actually, I remembered what my issue was.
Commissioner Laring, go ahead.
So, and I'm gonna ask a question before I make a motion. Has the work share program officially ended?
So employees participate.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we end the work share program and bring all the employees back into the building.
Second,
A motion and a second on ending the work share program. Is there any questions? Concerns?
Does that mean you're trying to?
Effective what date?
At the next full board, when it gets voted on in full board.
So next Tuesday?
Would supersede the directors that have an employee that's working fine from home.
And the work share program.
Yeah.
which was put in place because of MIOSHA and COVID, which is all
Is the
listed.
work share program a part of being able to work at home? Or could a director still have an employee work at home if they were happy with that?
So I'm not sure I'm following your question, but the work share program, I believe, goes to the end of July. Does that sound right?
September 1st.
September 1st, yes, end of July. So those employees are participating, which probably the majority of them are in the courts
Mhm.
that are participating, and the judges are the ones who,
Control over it anyway.
yeah, I would think that's the judge's choice as far as
I
the
didn't realize it was
employees.
courts.
So there's, as far as the other county employees, we have a very few. I could have that number for you by following full board.
But my concern is that we really don't know how effective the employees are working at home, but their directors should know that. And I feel uncomfortable with superseding a director's opinion in that situation.
Okay, so that is to your thing. So when we have employees working at home, they can still be putting in their 40 hours.
Okay,
The work share program is actually furloughing them for 1 day.
I see. Okay,
Which the intent,
I
the whole
understand.
intent of that rule was to save $9 for them.
Alright.
So they're working 4 days instead of 5.
do we have very many still involved in that?
I can get those numbers exactly for you if you like.
Okay,
Yes, Chair Skolnick, if you would.
so Mark, you're gonna get us that information across the economic.
All right, I can get that. for you.
And that's next Tuesday.
Yes, full board is. what we do that.
So are we deferring this? Where are we at?
No, we're not. We're-
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Nash.
I also have a concern similar to Commissioner Hughes in that our director knows their staff a little bit better than we do. And I do know that this may need some transitional time because there are families that are dealing with childcare and other issues, their own personal health care, that may require them to take a little bit more time to make these adjustments to be able to come back to work regularly. It's been over a year. And some of these folks are having some issues, like I say, with childcare and things of that sort. And there may be some that don't even come back because of the way things have changed. So I do think that it needs a transition time, and I don't think we should abruptly end it, but should have a smooth process to make this happen.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I don't see how this really disrupts anything, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess I'm not following how that's gonna be detrimental to the employees.
Well, perhaps you don't have childcare issues. You know, that takes a while to arrange.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner Laring.
So employees will have to adjust. They've had a year and a half work share program, being furloughed a day a week. We just heard from Clerk Waters that she's buried. She can't do her job. can't fulfill their responsibilities. We need to get these employees back in, and if they're not needed, assign them to help Clerk Waters with their jobs. We need to get these, and if they're not needed, if they're only needed 32 hours a week, then put them on part-time. If we do need them, put them back to work.
I have a question following on.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes, go ahead.
You made it sound like you're asking everybody to come back into the county. Is that what you're asking us to do? Without knowing whether they work?
My motion is to end the work share program.
Which is only the 1 day off a week, correct?
It's whatever it means, working from home, working, whatever I
But
want.
work share does not mean working from home, correct?
Yeah, there are employees who are working at home 40 hours a week.
Pre-COVID is, I think is what he's saying. Any furlough or any work share that, you know, for things to go back to pre-COVID. Specifically.
Well, I think some departments have learned that working at home is still getting the work done. So I think it's something that we learned over the last
That's
year,
not concern.
that you can work at home, work remotely, I should say, whether or not they're working at home or not, but they can work remotely. So there's two things here. One, allowing staff to work remotely, which we should begin developing policy on, and actually the director
I believe that.
to create a policy on allowing people to work at home.
And this is exactly why
And the second point, the work share program, that's the board made the motion at least, I believe, through the end of July. So those employees who are planning on that would need to rearrange their daycare for that day or 2 days, whatever number of days are taken off.
So right now, their work share is down the end of July anyway.
Right.
Is that, would you amend your motion to make it?
End of August.
I have some more questions.
Oh,
So when does the extra, I'm sorry, someone just.
I made a mistake, end of August, not July.
End of August. So they're getting paid. Explain the furlough again. So they're still getting paid for sharing the furlough,
So
correct?
they get 1 day unemployment, or more. So some might be doing 2 days, some might be doing a week still. But that puts them in unemployment, which then qualifies them for that $300. So it saves the county that 1 day of 8 hours. Again, it goes back to Commissioner Skolnick's request of what's it's actually saving us. And then the employee receives the benefit of the $300 from this feds
So is that called work share or furlough, just for clarification?
furlough.
That's
But
the-
we put that under the umbrella.
All
of
underneath the
work
umbrella
share.
of the work share. Okay, so
States call that.
I still support your first motion to end the work share.
So go, sorry.
I was gonna say, any other questions?
Yeah, so the employees that are working in home, is that included in their employee handbook, their manuals? Is that any company or county policy that certain employees get to work from home? There is significant evidence that in private industry, now I don't know about government, but the employees that are working from home are not working the amount of hours. Employers across the nation are calling their employees back into the office because the amount of work that they've been doing at home is not what they were doing in their offices. And some of these are Fortune 500 companies that are calling people back across the nation. And right now, if we end this emergency order that the county has, we have no authority to allow some people to work from home, that their employee handbooks don't authorize that. This is all what I mentioned in our last board meeting. The hinge pin to this whole thing is the emergency order. That's what needs to be unwound. We've got a whole ball of yarn that needs to be unwound here that we created over the last year and a half. This is just one step of that process of putting the county back to work.
No, I would agree with you that the board policy does not, or the county policy does not address working at home. So there would have to be something brought. The idea is to bring something in the month of July before this ended in August. So the debate can take place in July and August. But if the board chooses to say, go ahead and stop the work share program that passes, the employees would be required to come back to work until such time Board of Commissioners add a policy about working remotely.
I have to agree with Commissioner Laring that studies have shown that employees are much less effective and productive. And, to your point, if if that's something that somebody is absolutely wants to do, I think that you have to have that discussion and we have to talk about that because
That's it.
I'm just not sure that's a great idea. Any other questions? So the motion on the floor is
To end the work share program, which will be voted on at the next full board.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Seer, can we clarify that because of what Mr. Eisenberg said about the courts so that employees know specifically?
Not
Because
sure
it
what you're
wouldn't,
asking.
it's not going to affect the court employees, correct?
Are the, well,
Court's governed underneath
so
the state
do the
supreme
court fall under your directive?
No, other than
Okay, so
judge.
my motion stands as I said, the courts can do their own thing because they fall under a completely different jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
What's the motion?
Commission, to end the work share
End the
program.
work share Program early.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Commissioner Pegler,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick.
No.
Commissioner Wilkins,
No.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
No,
Commissioner Hughes.
No.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
4 yes, 5 no.
Okay, any other unfinished business? Any new business, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Chair Skolnick, please.
you all should have received a copy of this either in your email or a hard copy today. Just read this. It's a rescission of the local state of emergency by the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners. It's addressed to the Commanding Officer, Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division, Muskegon State Police District 6 Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division Coordinator. Whereas Michigan was once the state most heavily hit by COVID-19, the rate of new daily cases has plateaued. And whereas the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, MDHHS, and Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration, MIOSHA orders have been modified to lift restrictions regarding COVID-19. And whereas the Michigan Supreme Court administrative orders have been modified to allow all courts in the state to move to the phase 4 pursuant to directives of the local public health director. And whereas at an open meeting on June 29, 2021, the County Board of Commissioners consented to rescinding the declaration of the local state of emergency. Then the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners at its June 29, 2021 meeting recommended approval by, and then the details who will actually do that at that meeting, which is unknown at this point. Therefore, the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners rescinds the emergency declaration issued on April 6, 2021. And be it further resolved, Muskegon County lifts all COVID-19 restrictions and will return to in-person committee and board meetings beginning June 29, 2021. I, Nancy A. Waters, clerk of the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners and clerk of the County of Muskegon, do hereby certify that the above resolution was duly adopted by said board on June 29, 2021. So this is the suggested resolution. Mark, this April 6th date, you sure that's correct?
April 6th.
Because that was only 2 months ago.
I'll confirm it with our corporate counsel.
I think it was a lot longer than that.
I'll second your motion pending the correction of the date.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion, it's been seconded. If this passes, we'll vote on it at the full board meeting next Tuesday, and all this will be gone.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Bagel.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm relatively new yet, 6 months in. According to the board rules, does the chair have special authority in a issue that's in a timely manner to approve or disapprove something that we could make this effective immediately?
Mr. Chair, may I speak? to that?
Yes, please.
The reason I wanted it to do it for a week, give people a week's notice, was because this affects all the municipalities, any nonprofit, any organization that receives government funding. So that could be library boards. It affects a lot of people. So what I'm suggesting is we do a press release tomorrow. We send notices out so people can rearrange their meetings, because they won't be allowed to do virtual meetings anymore. And it's just, I mean, effectively it is right away, but that just gives them a little notice. Isn't really fair just to spring it on. And it's only 7
Thank you.
days.
Commissioner,
Yes, Commissioner Hughes.
and I agree with that, Bob, because I do know that for 2 of the meetings I attended last week, one was the road commission, one was Whimsidick. They have both extended theirs out through the end of August. So it's a chance to change the things wrong.
So I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm done.
So how will we communicate again with these boards and all of these people that need to know this, I
Yes,
guess?
we have a press ready to go out, and then we'll send that tomorrow, and we'll also send it to all the committees that we're aware of and townships.
Okay, so you shoot it, your email list or whoever, of all of those folks.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Hovey, right.
Yeah, in light of the fact that, many employees have children that they have to make arrangements for childcare, I think this is only a reasonable planned approach. I don't think there's I don't see the rush, and I do think we need to do it in a planful way. And that's what Chair Skolnick is proposing.
If I could just say, Mr. Chair, in the spirit of compromise, I actually wanted to do it in mid-July. And in my negotiations with the chair of the Ways and Means Committee today, we settled on just a week.
Thank you, Mr. Ways and Means Committee Chair.
Chair Skolnick was very gracious. Okay, so do we have, are we voting on this now? We are. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pega,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick. Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer.
Yes.
8 yes, or 9 yes, sorry.
Yes, any other new business?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have another item of new business.
Yes, Commissioner Laring, go ahead.
So I'm going to ask a question again first. Will Zoom be continued for people that want to participate remotely, not for the commissioners, but for the public? Will they continue on if we end the emergency order?
I'll turn it over to our corporate counsel, but corporate counsel,
Yeah, Mr. O'Meara, please.
So there are a couple things that I'll mention only because they still have some relevance. So once the local state of emergency is rescinded, then the board as a public body cannot meet virtually any longer. It would still allow a member to attend virtually if they had a medical condition that prevents their participation in person.
Are you talking about a board member?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
as a board member. So if a board member was ill, they could still attend by video. And then the last one is to accommodate military duty. There is nothing under the Open Meetings Act that says a public body cannot allow the public to attend virtually. And I think that fits within the intent and purpose of the OMA because it facilitates public access to meetings. So I know we've looked at this issue. There's nothing in the text of the OMA that would prevent the county from providing that additional access. So members of the public would have the opportunity to attend both in person if they desire, and by electronic means if the county wants to continue providing that. There's no requirement the county continue providing electronic access if there is in-person attendance, but you can do so if you choose to.
Okay, I would like to make my motion. My motion is that we continue on with Zoom for public access, and the potential of a commissioner being to attend in person.
Second,
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions.
Yes,
I guess,
Commissioner
Mike,
Hughes?
this would be for you. Would there be any cost to the county for providing access to the residents to join by Zoom? If they did not have access at home right now, would we be obligated to provide them with that?
No, because you don't, the county board does not have an obligation to provide electronic access. So those same people who may not have access electronically can come and see the person or be in person at the meeting.
Will they be able to make public comment from their remote?
Yeah, so it's the same process.
It's the same.
Yeah, whether they're in person or remote.
I guess I do have a concern that it's not, it doesn't have any really thing to do with this motion, but kind of does. You know, we had a lot of people come in and respond to questions or issues that we had that were not from this county. And
Right.
to serve the residents of this county. And it's really difficult for us to determine whether you're from this county or not. And it took a lot of our time, we're even from here, that, you know, it's not our job to listen to. Is there any way to avoid that situation?
Nope.
There's not.
I knew that was coming.
Public, wherever they may be located, has an opportunity to.
No, if you're in Florida on vacation or wherever, I mean, I think that's great. I'd like you to be able to, but if you're from Timbuktu and, you know, just want to voice your opinion, you know, it's really just a waste of our time because very few of us are even paying attention to it. We represent our people, not theirs. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Anybody else?
What is the
The
We would
motion
keep the
is
Zoom platform open for public involved engagement. You can read exactly what I said, probably.
I guess I have one other comment I'd like
Well,
to say.
we have a question. Did you write it down?
I wrote. move to Zoom after the order ends.
Okay.
With the public
For-
only,
With,
the public only,
who said unless they were.
unless they are sick or
Sick,
unless
which is
they're.
part of the
or a
RMA.
member that has a medical condition.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
you
part
don't,
of the
Need the
RMA.
qualifications.
yeah, you don't need to include that.
Okay,
Right.
the
It's already
statute.
in.
Point of order. Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Hughes, or I'm sorry, Hovey, right.
Yeah. Didn't we decide that things have to be presented in writing so that we see them ahead of time?
This is a motion.
Motions, no. No, we did not.
Not even at committee?
This is a motion. This is not a resolution.
That's not a resolution. isn't it?
Oh, resolutions. Okay, all right.
Any other questions,
I had
comments?
one, but I forgot.
It might come back as soon.
As soon as we vote.
Sorry, I know there was a
It's not gonna
shock to
change
your
my-
system.
I'm not gonna change my vote anyway, but
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pegum.
Yes,
Commissioner Clement,
no?
Commissioner Wilkins.
What was the motion?
to continue the public meetings through virtual for the public to
we
be
would
able
be
to
here
hear
when
and
the
see.
public could call in.
Yes, okay, yes.
Commissioner Brown.
yes,
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring.
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
no,
Commissioner Seer.
Yes.
8 yes, 2 no.
Seven.
Wait. You're doing good today.
What was it, 82?
7.
Been a long night.
She voted too.
Commissioner Seer, I do remember what my comment was, and it's really redundant now, but I just wanted to say, you know, one thing that I did have some real concerns about was we've had a lot of public comment. We've had a lot of people that are interested enough to put in an appearance, at least online. And I think this will give them an opportunity to have a voice, and it will keep us from filling up the room so that we have to close down our meetings and start again. So, you know, I do think this, I'm hoping this will.
I
Valid
think
point.
it will.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Nash.
My concern for the no vote was that, our clerks have been working diligently trying to keep this system going for us. But I think it would be a lot of relief to them to not have to try to man a personal meeting with all the commissioners and also trying to man the community and their responses with the software and give them a little bit of relief from that. I know we had to do it during the pandemic, but some of those things I think are a little bit more on their plate. And, we have two clerks that have plenty to do.
You think your constituents would agree with that, Commissioner Nash?
That wasn't my comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a comment now.
Yes, Commissioner,
Maybe we want to think about putting somebody on that just handles our meetings in his place.
this is part of it.
Because we do have two people that are really helping us and doing the things for us. It would be nice to have one person that was in charge of making sure that everything was correct with our participants that want to visit, want to be remote.
I'll rescind my second if it means we have to hire an extra person and pay more money.
Okay, well, it's already too late to vote it anyway.
All right, good.
But I'm just saying, that might be something we want to think about.
When I see these two down here, they look pretty happy to me most of the time.
Yeah, but that's because they're trained to smile at us. In silence, they're,
All right, any other questions? Okay, we've already voted on that, correct? Correct.
Motion to
Okay, we are going to new business.
Oh.
Still.
Oh, we're still on new business. My
Yeah, if
bad.
anybody else has any new business, hey, I'm not gonna rush through this now.
No, don't, please. I'll stay here till midnight. Let's do it. Order pizza.
Okay, hearing none, how about public comment? Let's go to public comment.
You have one.
We have one out there with public comment. I can't see them. I don't know where they are.
Beth has a public comment.
You push this button. and you see
Can I just go ahead?
Oh, Chris Kyler. Chris, are you out there?
Beth is up at the podium.
Oh, Beth is
Oh, I'm sorry, Beth.
That's okay. I
This
know
is
you're
all
not
new
used
to
to
me.
seeing somebody at the podium, so.
our first time.
Beth Dick, Director of Finance. I have a response to Commissioner Hughes'
Oh,
earlier
okay, good.
question about the total amount of drain bonds that we've issued that have the county's pledged its full faith and credit. There have been 4, well, there have been 3, and then the one today that you voted on would be the 4th. Pearson, Black Creek, Ribe, and now Montague. The total of all 4 of those, including the one today, is $13.4 million.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth.
You see.
Public comment, Chris Kyla, does he have to unmute or do
Yep,
we
you can
unmute
say
him?
Yeah, there you go. You have me?
2 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So in relation to the clerk's request for $25,000 for contract work, I had a few questions. Is the scope of work written down and what limits are on the scope of work? Does the scope of work limit the areas that the programmer is allowed to access? And what is the quality control step to know that these things have been done correctly and nothing else has been changed in the system? In light of the things that have come out of Detroit and Antrim County, it's clear that programming changes to the system or mistakes in programming can have an effect on the election. And as the clerk is a nonpartisan person in this running the elections, it would be her responsibility to make sure that these things happen. And I'm sure she would be wanting to do that. I'm wondering why the money is not taken from the retired person's salary, since there's no pay going out for that position.
They're
And
doing.
this person is doing the function that that person would have been doing. So it seems to me like the motion is off budget or extra to the budget, which I don't understand. Last is a comment. When Commissioners Hobie Wright and Commissioner Nash made comments about questions coming from certain commissioners, I think it's not helpful to the discussion if they decide what's badgering and what's not badgering. I think they should let the public decide what that is. I think there's a lot of us that have questions and they've asked some of those questions, and I would have a few more. So I would hope that the commissioners would allow each other the time to explore these things, especially since These things are not directly on the budget. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. Next in line is Karen Palmer.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Wonderful.
Oops.
Go ahead.
Someone muted me, so I
me.
had to unmute myself again.
Go ahead.
Okay. A moment ago, one commissioner made a comment about public comment being important. And I found it ironic since she was one of the people on the April 20th meeting who disapproved of my request for my public comment to be included accurately in the minutes. It was not reflected accurately based on my request. There was a reason I asked for that. I commented a few times about that. Public comment is very important, and I know you all know this. We've discussed it a few times since I've been paying more attention, and I would like to see more respect for that in the Board of Commissioner meetings, just in general. One other aspect that I think is really important, I'm going to hit, talk about badgering. I will badger this because my public comments highlighted for me something that I feel is really crucial about our elections. That's a question about the integrity of our elections here. I spoke about that in 3 public meetings. The following meeting, all of a sudden, the public comments were decreased in their completion, in trying to get the words out right. They were not complete. And prior to this, you would have multiple people's names. You would have that they were in support or dissent about various issues. They had questions or comments, and they were briefed. All of a sudden, after I challenged, no public comments were detailed in the same way. So suddenly you had a number of citizens commented on vaccine resolution. That was not detailed. That tells me that, once again, public comments are not.
Thank you, Ms. Palmer. Your time is up. Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Can't get to it on this one.
I've got it. The next one is, it's a phone number ending in 292. You are up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to say I'm Tammy, Muskegon County resident. And first of all, I was not recognized to talk on an agenda item. Again, this is so darn frustrating. I had so much to say on an agenda item right from the beginning, and I was not recognized. So I'm glad that things are finally going to open up so we could try and be there. My next comment is about Charles saying that you're tired of the questions from commissioners and you feel like you're beating a dead horse just for asking questions. I think that's ridiculous. I'm sure you didn't know the answer to those questions. And if they had questions, the public certainly had questions. And then what you did was you tried to hurry up and ask for a vote when they still had questions or comments. That's not right. And then Marcia did the same thing, trying to hurry up and get a request for a vote and trying to get a quick second before all the questions are even answered. And that's just wrong. You all need to start to work together. And another thing, Marcia, talking about the $6,000 is nothing. Are you kidding me? Are you that rich that $6,000 means nothing to you? And what the heck? You're saying that those are not taxpayer dollars? Where did the money come from? A wild growing money tree back there somewhere? Somewhere? Those are still taxpayer money. Just because it comes from another fund, it's still taxpayers' money. So don't lie and say that the funds that we're talking about here are not tax dollars. That's not true, and you just gave out misinformation, and we don't appreciate it. Next, back to Nancy Waters. Unreal that Nancy wants to, doesn't want her choice to be questioned. Who nominated her to be God? That's what I want to know. That is so ridiculous. The board should be voting on who is selected, if anyone is selected. And second of all, if Nancy doesn't know how to do that job, she sure the heck better find out, better go to school, whatever.
Thank you for your comment, Tammy. Thank you. Your time is up. Anybody else out there? I don't see anybody. Do you, anybody? All right, so public comment, we're moving on to final board comment.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner Laring, please.
So I'm going to read my comment. It's because it's written, I have it written down. Bob, I understand that you were served with the county settlement covenant from Muskegon County. As stated in May 25th public comment, you are to provide a copy to each of your fellow commissioners. When may we expect to receive a copy?
I turned the document over to Mike and I haven't had a response yet. I didn't know that. I could easily furnish a copy to everybody. I can do it. It'll be in your mailboxes tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a public record. I don't know if, I don't know, there's an obligation to provide it unless you're citing to some statutory provision that I'm unaware of.
So where would we find that public document for Muskegon County if it's a public document?
So it's been filed presumably by somebody with the office, with the administrator's office. So be subject to FOIA like everything else.
So I don't want to have to file a FOIA request?
You can have a copy. I'm not suggesting that you can't have a copy.
Okay. So do we have a copy of it on file that's available?
Zach, I copied it and made a PDF copy that I think I sent either Kristen or Kathy. And she has it. You can forward that to everybody by email.
Correct.
Thank you. That will suffice for now.
Will you do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was just today.
No, it was
I don't think this
last
is-
week. Last week.
We'll get it.
That's fine.
To all commissioners. Thank you.
All right, any other board comment?
Yes, I had something, that I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, so a few while back, actually, I, had wanted to make a recommendation. I don't know what's going on my screen. Do I have to touch my screen?
I can see you now.
Okay, something's on my screen. Okay, and I don't know if Clerk Waters is still on the line. I had wanted to make a recommendation to our Clerk Waters. She made the clarification that she's been here for 12 years and she is unaware and unknowledgeable of certain duties that are under her scope statutorily. And one of them duties she specifically said would take a week of training. I would like to recommend that we send her to that training so she becomes knowledgeable and she can cross-train other employees so that we're not into this predicament again. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pago. Commissioner Hughes, please.
Commissioner Pago, I know you haven't been here very long, but we really don't have any control over an elected official's.
I understand. I just I'd like to make the
Except-
recommendation.
except-
I'm a taxpayer too, and
Yeah.
she's elected, so she has certain duties she's supposed to be able to perform, and if she's unaware, I want to help her with that. So if she can take the training, and also then she can come back and cross-train the staff, that would be very
They have to
helpful.
Come out of her budget if she would have to. I do have one other thing.
Go ahead.
This is a happy thing.
No, we're good.
I know.
I could use a little
Um,
happy thing right now.
In my municipality, I live in a subdivision that has a park at the end of it, and I'm gonna put a little free library there. So if anybody's got any little kids' books they want to get rid of, I would love to be able to have them, put them in my little free library.
One of those.
Where's
stand-up-
that at?
stand-up
It's
deals.
in Evanston Gardens on the.
Oh, I know
Evanston-
that. I have a
live in
lot
that-
of books
I live
to
in
get
that
rid of.
subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah, you got folks.
No. And it's gonna be for adults and kids, so.
Okay, any other final board comment?
Mr. Chair. do
Yes,
have one more
Chair
thing. I just
Skolnick,
noticed
please.
Something, I don't know if any of the other commissioners, I've had two messages about gypsy moths in the county. I don't know what to do about it.
There's nothing that can be done.
Oh, Matt stepping up.
Nothing can be done.
Hero of the day.
May I speak, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Yes.
you're the chair.
Yes, please, Mr. Farah.
Yes, the county, the Department of Public Works has done spraying and worked with the communities in years past. It's been quite a few years. We get together with the communities, we inspect the county where they're at, we identify the areas. The communities agree to pay to spray and we coordinate the spraying. However, we started getting calls about a month ago Yep, it's too late. There's nothing we can do this year. For one, the larva is too big, it wouldn't be effective, and and two, the canopy is aerial sprayed wouldn't do any good. So that's what we've been telling the municipalities, the townships, and yes, we are getting inundated with calls on this. Now, if the tree's healthy, if it doesn't have another underlying condition, it just defoliates, it doesn't die. These things typically go in a 3-year cycle. We're in year 1 of this infestation. So we're going to reach out, work with administration, with the townships, if they want to do something. This isn't cheap. It's about, Mark, did I say $60 an acre?
Correct.
Yeah. Just to spray. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when we look at the areas that are infected. So yeah, we are aware of it. We do have an environmental planner on staff that knows how to coordinate these and done quite a few of them. So we're going to reach out to the townships and cities who wants to do it if they want to pay for it and move on.
So that would be on a per municipality basis if they want it. It wouldn't be a countywide.
That's what we've done it before.
Okay.
All the municipalities being, I was, we're still working the
And
details.
your time of spring is for next March or April.
Yeah, yes, next spring.
Springtime, yeah.
To plan for next year, but I just want to make sure it's limited to each municipality makes their own decision, not.
Oh, yeah,
not
we
making
are.
a decision at a county.
Oh,
Okay.
Matt, will that eventually go everywhere in the county then? Is that what you're expecting?
No, they're not everywhere. You're talking about the gypsy moths?
Yeah, because like the calls I've gotten have been in the northern part of the
Yeah,
county. I know they were in Norton Shores some years ago.
Yep.
They're up north.
Yeah, they prefer oak trees, so they're gonna probably focus on them, where there's a lot of farm fields, they're probably less likely to be in the area. So we'll inspect it, if the municipalities want to do it, we'll drive around, inspect it, identify the areas and identify maps, GPS areas that the planes can fly over.
So when individuals call, I mean, who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
That's what I figured.
I have a question on that.
No, bug busters.
Okay, what I'm asking Mark Eisenberg too. Actually, I should be asking Beth too, but why have, one reason that these got ahead of us was because of COVID. I mean, so what if you can use some of that COVID money for next year to spray? Because, I mean, if people had realized that they could, they can't get out in the woods and can't do all that stuff, can't go to the stores and buy all that stuff. I mean, and we've got all that money. I mean, is there some way to work it out so that our COVID money can pay for the spray next year? Because if we'd have been able to spray early in the year, we might not have a problem, but COVID kind of held everything back. And I'm just wondering if it's possible that we could use some.
So I was can I piggyback on what you have to say? Because that's exactly what my next question was, is the budget. You're saying we're already going to investigate and scope these areas out already. So how is the funding going to be handled for that?
Okay, I must have misspoke. We'll let the communities know we can do this if they're
Oh,
willing to pay.
okay.
We
Okay.
don't organize this.
So if they reach out, then
Right.
they pay us to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then, if they're willing to pay, we'd inspect their township.
Okay.
Okay, and then we would put together, probably do a bid for them.
Okay.
I mean, it's just cheaper to do it in
Thank you.
aggregate. So no,
That
I'm not
clarifies that.
suggesting that comes out of any county funds of that.
So as far as the grant, I'm not aware of it. All of it, we'll check into that.
I don't know, but
But
I'm
yeah.
surprised at the things they'll let you use that money for.
Well, the last time we sprayed was 09, 010, so it
Right.
wasn't like
Right,
we were
so
planning on it.
No,
Because of
certainly.
COVID.
And what was that for, Mark, in 09, 010? What was that?
that was a gypsy month.
That was Gypsy Month.
But they
also.
go 11-year cycle, but they're here for like 3 years, and then it's 11 years for the back, right, Matt? Yeah.
So, Mr. Faird, if I have, let's say, because I talked to Blue Lake Township, it's horrible up there. I went up to a meeting and the
They're bad.
whole front of the building is covered with these caterpillars. And, they're asking, so who would they contact? I guess is the question. You?
Sure.
Your office, or whatever?
Yep, that'd be fine. If the supervisors, if the residents could contact the municipality, we're in contact with Melanie quite a bit. Yep. You just let me know, hey, we're interested, at least the sooner the better. I mean, I know we're a couple months too late of spring, but it's not too early to start planning for next year.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Chairman.
I would just like to that the esteemed Judge Maria Lattice Hoops is in the audience.
Thank you.
I think she came for
Pleasure
the
and honor
gypsy
to be
moth petition.
No, I don't have an issue.
It's just been so long since you've seen us.
Thanks for
I
coming.
agree with the Gypsy Moth.
It's a mess. Any other final board comments? All right, I guess the next motion is to enter into closed session for the purpose.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was on mute. Just two things. One of the audience members said that the $6,000 that was meant for self-check, that the money is coming from taxpayer, but it's not. It's covered by fees that are assessed when a person does not show up for jury duty. So that is not tax money. And I just like to put in a word about our clerk, Clerk Waters. She has served with distinction for numerous years. Clerks are not expected to be trained to program their equipment. That's something that, like in any other office, you've got technical people that do that kind of thing. So to say that she's not qualified to do her job or is not able to do her job is I don't think fair. So I just want to say that she does a good job and we need to honor that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Now I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property.
So move.
Support.
A motion and support. Let's have a roll call, please.
Reading my sheets, I'm sorry.
You ran out of sheets.
Oh, a while ago. Commissioner Laring,
Intermission.
You gotta go.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So whatever we gotta do to get there, I guess let's go there.
Commissioner Laring's a yes.
roll call on this one, do we?
I think over here, we don't have to.
Okay, we're good, and we're just in open session. Oh, that's what I thought.
All in favor, voice up.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're back in closed session. We need a motion.
We're back in.
Second.